Hi, beautiful being. Oneness evolving here in my backyard today because, as you can hear, well, not as much as if I was in the front yard, it's noisy in the front yard today. The building site has got machinery on it. So I'm going to show you the back garden because I don't normally go out here because the Wi-Fi isn't so good. There's the house. Here's the garden. And it's not blowing and it's not raining, which is nice because it has been doing a bit of both. Quite a lot of both, actually. There's the blue sky. And I just want to show you the sky and the clouds and the tops of the trees. Because I love the sky and I love what the sunshine behind the clouds looks like and the patterns in the clouds. And I love the sound of the crickets. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see, because I can't walk over there. But look, I cleaned this up. If I walk over there, g'day gorgeous, lovely to see you. If I walk over there, the Wi-Fi will cut out, so I'm just using the zoom. So those are pink Japanese anemones, and beneath them, there's like 4 hours of work in those steps, those flat bits. I thought it was you, Lisa. Hi, sweetie. I got really into it on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday I did something else, but on Sunday I cleaned that out. All the bulbs came out. I got rid of the weeds. That was a massive job, and I put them back in. And they'll be beautiful in spring. So that's my little boast. Here is the ghost plant. Man, it's still today. And look, you can see the magnolia has a fruit on it. I will cut it off because I don't need more magnolias, but it's kind of cool, so I'm leaving it there. And what else have we got? We've got lemons. I'm going to zoom out again because otherwise it'll get confusing. But I can show you these. The lemons have been sitting here just getting, this has got a big one. It's like if they get to a certain point, then they just stay on the tree and they keep growing, and I'm letting it happen. And then there's this faithful purple campanula that just keeps going forever. And there's weeds, and there's onions that, you know, they're not spring onions, actually, something else, but they work a lot like spring onions. And there's some machinery again. So I'll go inside soon, but I just wanted to show you there's more work to do up there. And there's the circle garden. And everything is gearing up for spring, but the winter has to come first. And you see the edges have been done. My husband got around, but the lawns haven't yet. And something I'm enjoying that I put in here is the Boston ferns. I transplanted these because they got pulled out from somewhere else, and I picked them up and threw them in, and here they are growing. And, well, I love ferns. So they grow outside very happily. So there's not much else to show you. It's just nice to be out here and hear the crickets. Just love that sound. Just love that sound. But I'm going to go inside now. Oh, actually, I will show you one more thing because I think this is really cool. This is a different kind of ghost plant. And this one was kind of struggling up the top of the section for a long time. And so I moved it. Come on, give me some focus. Thank you. And it's actually coming into flower right now. You can see the buds. They're not spectacular, but the whole thing is really quite gorgeous and delicate. And so I'm enjoying that. So that's the garden. I'm going to go inside now and tell you what I've been writing about, for God of me, today. And I'm kind of excited because this is interesting stuff. And I think a lot of people struggle to understand their feelings. Hi, Susan. It's good to see you. A lot of people struggle to understand their feelings. And the thing is, I finished my summary. If you watched last week's live, and if you heard the chapter reading on Patreon, which you can access for free, all you have to do is give me your email address, and you're not going to get spammed. So you'll know that I summarised what I've been doing for about the last 6 months. And when I did it, I got a bit of a shock because it was like, oh my God, this is a freaking rabbit hole. And when I started this 6 months ago, I had no idea it would lead me there and, you know, the whole thing. So I hadn't quite finished it last week. I finished it this week. Excuse me, just getting myself organised. And the very end of what I was summarising was this thing called entrainment. And entrainment is kind of important because entrainment is how things manifest in our lives, okay? In case you think entrainment sounds boring, it's really pretty, I don't know, critical, essential, vital, like the thing that makes everything happen. Entrainment is what has happened, has finished happening when something manifests in your life. So entrainment's pretty important. But the link I've been wanting to make is, okay, so things entrain, whatever that is, and I'm not going to talk about that again this week. You need to go back and listen to the last one or find it on Patreon. But trust me, entrainment is what happens when things manifest. And it isn't just what happens when good stuff manifests in our lives. It's what happens when the other stuff manifests in our lives too. In fact, our whole lives are actually a demonstration and outpicturing of what we are entrained to. And the thing about that is that we are actually the thing that's doing the entraining, but we don't realize it. And it's our thoughts and our feelings that we do all the time without realizing it, unconsciously, unawares, and often not even knowing that we're feeling them, which is what I'm talking about, that does the entraining. And when I realized that, finally, I mean, that was part of what I was thinking, oh my God, about last week, because I hadn't quite made this connection in the same way that I did when I wrote the summary. It's like, oh my God, this is crazy. But what we think and feel the most is what creates our lives. And if you go back through last week or you go to Patreon and you listen to, there's a thing that says, what is it? What a ride. And it was totally this crazy ride through, can we actually make matter with our mind? Well, what is matter? And then how does matter actually appear from, the God, source, unified field, vacuum, whatever you want to call it? How does matter get to be matter anyway? And it turns out the whole reason that matter is because something has entrained it into form, which is why entrainment is important. So if our thoughts and our feelings and yes, our actions and who we're being all the time are actually what entrains our life into its existence, then I was sitting there with this blank slate in my mind and a blank page on the screen and thinking, where do we start? And I actually was like, the complete brick wall. So I did what I do when I get into that place, and I stood up and walked away from my computer. Because what are you going to do? Sit there and stare at the screen? No. So I walk away, I walk around, and within a few seconds it falls into my head. Well, the stuff that, the thing that's doing the entraining, if that's our thoughts and feelings, most of us don't even know what we're thinking and feeling all the time. We really don't. 95% of who we are and how we think and how we feel just goes on under the surface and we are not aware of it. And so I thought, so we have to unpack that. Which is, okay. So we stay entrained to our lives the way they are because of our habitual thoughts and feelings. Excuse me, I've got to get a clock so I can see it. How that works, very briefly, and this is I'm basing this on actual physics and stuff that is real and that I've written about and explained. And it's probably, no, I'm not going to go do that. It'll take too long. So if you look at the things that you find easy in your life to have or to be or to whatever it is, things that are just easy for you, your thoughts, your habitual thoughts and feelings about those things are generally positive and happy, and this is easy and I enjoy this, and whatever it is. And so you're in sync with it. And if you could measure the electromagnetic field that comes out of you, and it does, everybody is emitting an electromagnetic field all the time, it would be very specifically tuned when you're thinking about those things. The resonance of that is basically what entrains those things into being in your life. This is, and I'm not just spouting stuff. This is practically what seems to work, and in physics experiments, it's literally what happens. So yes, I'm making the connection between a situation where you have things that are oscillating at different frequencies, but they will entrain, and there's a set of rules about why that works. But we all also oscillate at a certain frequency, and I experience that the frequency at which I oscillate entrains my life into a certain pattern. So the things that we resonate, oh, okay, this is good, I'm easy with this, entrains that aspect of our lives into something that's easy, and it's just there, and it's good, and we don't struggle with it. In the same way, the things that we find challenging, that just never work out, that just keep on being shitty for decades, you think, why can't I change this? Our habitual thoughts and feelings about those things have their own resonance, and they entrain. Ha! I'm not a physicist, Lisa. Ooh la la! But I've learned a little bit about physics, because how this actually works, this whole manifestation gig, which is really what I'm unpacking for myself and hopefully everybody else a little bit, is very physical. It's not woo-woo. It's physics, along with, some neuroscience and some epigenetics and all the stuff. Nothing's separate from anything, it's all connected. So the point I'm trying to make, and because you see, this is a new module, this is a completely new piece that I'm talking about now, so I'm all wibbly wobbly and not very clear about it because I've just bitten into this apple and it's kind of big and chunky. But the things that we struggle with in our lives, that we don't have, if you like, we have a problem and we don't have a solution to it. We have a certain set of thoughts and feelings that we think and feel all the time about not having that solution. And you think about the thing that's been a struggle for you for however long. You have a way that you've thought and felt about it for a long time. That too is keeping you entrained and your life entrained into the state of you not having the solution for that challenge that you've had for however long. So entrainment doesn't just work for the magical, wonderful things that we manifest and think, yay, I did it. It also works for the things where we struggle. Whatever we think and feel most habitually is going to eventually, if we keep going, it's not the one-off stuff, it's what we do all the time, and usually without being aware of it, that entrains our life into the shape that it is. And that is at once maybe quite a scary thought. Can you think, really? Is that how it is? I find that it is. Hi, Robin! But that's me. But also it's a really empowering thought, because if I really am putting out a resonance and a frequency that entrains my life into a certain shape, well then maybe, just maybe, I can change that and entrain my life into a different sort of shape. And I am finding that actually is true for me. So we stay entrained, our lives stay entrained to the good stuff and the bad stuff and everything in between, because of who we habitually are and how we think and how we feel all our time, and most of the time we don't notice it. And this is what I wanted to get into is, well, how come we don't notice it? How come we don't know that we feel that way? And I think, well, where do I start? There's a lot of where do I start going on with this one. And I decided to start telling the story of me. Because, everybody, you got to start somewhere. Hi, Mike. Lovely to see you, bud. So when I was a normal kid, and I was very privileged to grow up in a situation where there wasn't a lot of need. There were challenges. Everybody has their challenges. But I can remember being a pretty unpleasant child, actually. Kids can be really horrible, and I had my time of being really horrible. But I eventually worked out that life is easier if you try to be nice to people. And so I did that, but I found it really hard. It was like I didn't know what the rules were, and I didn't fit in, and so all of that was how it was, and it was normal to me. And at least by the time I was 18, it was normal for me that I was stressed and scared, and I didn't know it. It was normal for me. This is how life is. And it never occurred to me that life could be any different. For example, to give you it's similar but different. For a large portion of my working life until relatively recently, I thought, because of just what I had absorbed and observed as a child, that work was something that was boring and you just did it, and you went through, you did your time, you got your money, and then you did whatever you wanted to and you went walking. Hi Muktananda. That was what work was for me. It only dawned on me relatively a few years ago that work could be an absolute joy, that work could be interesting, that you could grow and develop, all that stuff that work could be. I had no concept, because I never really saw around me examples of people loving their work. So likewise, it never occurred to me, because maybe I never really saw people loving their lives and being really happy, and that's probably true actually, to a large extent. It was just normal to me that I was scared and stressed all the time. Except that I didn't know that I was, because it was normal. What I did notice was there were experiences I had that I enjoyed, and they would lift me up out of that state. And there were experiences that I had that I did not enjoy, and they pulled me down from that state. But when I wasn't having a better experience or a lesser experience, this was where I came back to, and I thought it was normal that I'm scared and stressed all the time and don't know it. That was just my normal. And it was. And it stayed like that for 35 years. It was my homeostasis. And you might remember, a long time ago now it seems, I wrote about, and I went back and found, what I wrote about homeostasis. Because homeostasis is how our body keeps everything running. If you get too hot, it sweats. If you get cold, then it shuts down the peripheral circulation to conserve heat. If you get angry, then certain things happen. If there's a threat, then certain things happen to enable you to escape the threat, and then it goes back to normal, because homeostasis is the normal. If you get hungry, it says get some food so we can stop feeling hungry and go back to normal. Temperature, heartbeat, everything. The body regulates everything, and it uses homeostasis to do that. Well, the thing is that our most common thoughts and feelings just chemically produce a common chemical result in our body. And so for me, it was normal to be scared and stressed and not know it. And that scared and stressed and not knowing it, and it being normal and like that most of the time, meant that my body was experiencing that chemistry most of the time. So guess what? Being scared and stressed most of the time was my body's normal. It was my homeostasis. And we don't notice homeostasis. Oh, I'm feeling good, I'm fine, nothing's happening. Meanwhile, your brainstem is regulating your breathing and your digestion and your temperature and your sensation of where your body is. All of that stuff is going on and you don't notice. And in the same way, I was going through my life feeling scared and stressed all the time, having experiences that were better and experiences that were worse, and never realizing that my homeostasis was scared and stressed. So this is a really simple reason. Hi, Linda! Really simple reason why we don't know what we feel, because it's so freaking normal. It's like wallpaper and you never see it. That's the first thing. And so I could only see the contrasts, and it really didn't change until, and it's exactly 6 years ago today. I'm very excited. I'm starting my 7th year of doing Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. For 6 years I have never missed a day, and I never will, because it's so amazing now. But 6 years ago I sort of bumped into Joe's work a few months before, and I had some experiences and thought, I want to do this every day. And daylight saving time, just like it's just changed now, daylight saving time had ended, and so I chose to stay at daylight saving time and fit my meditation in there, and that was what I did. And 6 years later, I'm a really different person, and I now actually can feel joy, can feel love. And I couldn't for so long, because I was just shut down. Nobody's fault. It's just what happened. Cindy, it's lovely to see you, sweetie. Great to have you here. So that was 6 years ago. And what I have noticed in my journey is that, we all have stuff that blows up in our faces. And it does. I had something blow up in my face a bit over a week ago. It blew up. It was big. I had a big response to something. It was interesting because the stimulus happened and I didn't respond. I was actually really, really proud of how I dealt with the situation. And then 5 or 10 minutes later, this thing started to slowly wind up. It was like my body was doing that on its own. And for a couple of days, I did not really know what was going on. I couldn't figure it out with my conscious mind, what I was feeling. Not at all. And I had to go into meditation because another thing that I wrote about at least a year ago now is how the conscious mind is busy making sense of the information that is around us and what's going on inside us, and it's putting pieces together and processing all the stuff, and it's working pretty fast. But all the stuff, that the most of us that we're not conscious of isn't accessible with our brain working like it is when you and I are talking to each other. That's just not there. So what I learned is that there are different brainwave states, and I have to be able to slow my brainwaves down until I'm, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, conscious in my unconscious nervous system. My autonomic nervous system is where all that unconscious programmed homeostasis, can't see it because it's normal to me, stuff exists. And in that place, and there's all the process of how I access that, which is really what I want to unpack in the next however long it takes me, I can really get to observe and change those feelings that I don't even know that I feel. And really, because I'm getting better at this, and it's all because of the science that I've been unpacking for the last 18 months or however long it's been. It's like my model has become so much bigger and it allows me to go deeper because I know where to look. But there's also this thing of how do you understand and recognize and access your own feelings when you just think, but I don't know what I'm screaming about. And so that's what I'm starting to unpack now, because until you actually know, can at least get a grip on something so that you can change it, you can't change it. I recognize that because, there is another way to do things, and it depends, because sometimes I can do this. I'll have a bad feeling come up and I can simply make a choice and choose to feel something else. And I can often do that, and that's cool. And I think that we should always try to do that, because the less attention you give to something that you don't want, the less energy it gets. If you put your attention on that bad thing and you pull it apart and you try to analyze it, no, don't do that. That's, you just tie yourself in knots. We all know that doesn't work. So that's not what I mean. If you find that a bad thing comes up, and I use the word bad, a negative, a challenging, a contrasting, unpleasant, whatever it is, thing comes up, and you just find that you can take your attention off it and put your attention on something else, and your body will calm down after a little while, because the chemistry might take a couple of minutes to go away. And that's all it takes, by the way. If it lasts longer, we are keeping it going. It's a fact. So if you can do that, that's cool. And I encourage people to do that. It's like, when a baby gets upset and you distract them and they calm down really fast. If you can do that with your own, some part of you is responding just like that child. If you can take your attention off it and do something else and feel a different way, great. But I found that this response was going on. And I also found, and I know not to do this for long now, that when I considered the response and thought, what am I feeling? Really, what am I responding to? What's going on here? I couldn't work it out. So I knew that there was no point doing any more of that. I knew that I had to go deeper to access whatever was going on. And so I did what I do, and I went deeper, and there are ways that I have discovered for myself to be able to connect with what that is. And it isn't about saying, oh, it's that thing that happened in past life number 554 and I was the, it's not about the story. I don't give a wet slap about the story. It ends up for me that I can find a frequency, I can find a resonance, I can find a feeling, I can find a vibe, I can find a buzz, but I know how to work with that now to change it. And when that's done, and again, it's physics that informs what I'm doing. It's not just intention, which I struggled with that because it was too strong for me. Having a mental intention to change something that's screaming through my whole body, it was like, are you joking? This is like throwing a glass of water at a granite cliff and expecting it to dissolve. Forget it. But I just have these ways that I've discovered for myself that work really well for me, and I'm really curious to find out if I can explain them to other people. And it came to me that the very first step of that is actually being able to perceive, oh, I'm having a response here. Forget the story. Don't care. And by the way, if it's something that strong, 95% chance, if you've been doing your inner work for a while, if you haven't been doing your inner work for a while, well, then it might be something that's just you think, oh my God, I know what I'm reacting to. But if you've done all of that stuff, you think, no, but I really don't hate that person. This response that I'm having is way out of proportion to the thing that happened. That's a really big giveaway. That something else is going off inside you, and it's nothing to do with the situation. And that was what I could see, and I thought, okay, so I know that this has got nothing to do with what just happened. What just happened is showing me something in me that needs to be addressed. But it's not the situation. So I've learned how to pick that as well. And there's a way to do that. I've learned to do that. So all of this stuff, this is the piece that I'm unpacking now. Because I see people struggle with this. They know they want to change. They know they have feelings. They want to change them. And I mean, there's many different ways of doing it. But this is how I've learned to do it for me. And so I'm going to be unpacking that over the next little while, and it's going to get really interesting because I've got no idea how I'm going to explain a lot of it. What I do know is that will come to me because it just does. So I'm excited. I've been working with Dr. Joe's meditation every day for the last 6 years. Today is the first day of my 7th year. I'm so grateful for how I've changed and for what it's given me and for who I've become and who I'm still very much becoming. And I'm so grateful for everything that I've learned. And I'm so grateful for all of you because some of you have been with me for almost that long. And if you're not familiar, go and check out the link underneath this post that takes you to my Patreon. There's a lot you can have there for free. You can follow the journey and you get emails. You can turn them off if you don't want to, if you don't want to get them. But yeah, I would love to have you join me on Patreon because soon enough this is going to get practical and then we'll be working on it together in some kind of online group situation. Don't ask me what, I don't know, it's not time, but that's coming. Thank you, Mike. I think it should be Happy Joe-iversary, actually. I love that man. I am so grateful for the work he's doing and continues to do. Very much love. Thank you for joining me this week. Stay tuned. Keep an eye out. It's going to get to be really exciting. We've built a foundational understanding and now we get to use it. I'm looking forward to that. Much love. I'll see you next week again. Bye-bye.